Hey guys, what's up? It's Shauna. Sorry about missing the video last week. I had some personal stuff happen and I was just overly stressed. So I am back though, and I'm excited to talk about the books that I read in March. So I discussed a little bit in last month's wrap-up that I had some plans to make my reviews a little bit more extensive this month, and I'm really excited how it turned out. So for any of these books, you will see my full spoiler reviews on my blog, and I'll link that below so you can go check those out. As for the video, I will only be spoiler free, or as much as I possibly can, and if I'm going to spoil anything, I'll let you know. Okay, so like I think I did last month, I'm going to start out with the books that I didn't particularly care for and move to my 5-star reviews. The first book I read this month was actually a DNF for me. I only got about 250 pages in and I just wasn't able to continue at that point. And that was A Wildcat by J.P. Hawker. I feel terrible about this one because the author kindly sent it to me to review, but there were some things that happened in it that I just could not get behind, and I had to put it down because it just had too many problems that I couldn't personally move past. Basically, this book follows Raya, and she is struggling with being a chieftain's daughter and trying to be a brilliant warrior and also balance being a mother. She's basically taken as a prisoner of war by this rival tribe, and she is forced into this relationship, and there's just some really unhealthy dialogue that is said throughout the book, basically about women, that I couldn't continue reading. So if you want to see my full review, I did post that on the first half of the book. That is my disclaimer. I only read the first half, but I did skip to the last chapter and I still had a problem with how it ended, so that's what led me to not continue with this book. Again, you can see my full review on the first 250 pages that I read in my blog post. The next book I read, I was really excited about because I had heard so many people love this series and I wanted to get into it. It was City of Bones by Cassandra Clare. Like I said, I was so pumped about this series, and maybe that's what made me go in with these high expectations and then they just didn't meet it. So this is a 2-star review for me. If you haven't heard about this series, it's basically about a girl named Clary who witnesses a murder, but when the body disappears, she realizes that she's not in Kansas anymore, and then she realizes that she's the only one that can see the people that killed the person. It sounded like a book that would be right up my alley, and I was so excited about it, and it just fell so flat for me. And then there's this one thing that happens and I couldn't move past it and it drove me insane. So that's where I'm at with that. I did go ahead and read the second book in the series because I thought, well, maybe it gets better and that's why people love it, but I still had the same problems. I didn't care for Clary, and that thing that happened in the first book was still persistent in the second book, and I just couldn't move past it. Even though I've heard that it's cleared up in later books, I couldn't do it. And I'm just wondering, do you guys think I should continue on with this series? I mean, I enjoyed it enough, but it was not anything that blew my mind. I didn't really care for a lot of the characters. None of them stuck out to me as being like these awesome characters that I wanted to root for. A lot of them seemed really selfish or just plain jerks. So let me know. I know this is probably an unpopular opinion, but let me know if you think I should continue on with the series, because does it get better? I just need to know these things. the next 2-star review I read this month was Ever the Hunted by Erin Summerall, and this book, I don't know, it was like nothing, there was nothing that stuck out to me as super interesting or super intriguing, and I actually had to read it twice because I found the second book at Ollie's for like $1.99, so I picked it up and I wanted to start reading it, but I read Ever the Hunted at the beginning of the month, and when I started reading it I realized I didn't remember anything about the book. So I was like, okay, well, that's a problem. So I had to reread the book, and then even after that I was like, yeah, it is, nothing stuck to me that made me be like, this is a good book. It was so cookie cutter. Oh, I didn't even tell you what it's about. Basically, this book follows a girl named Britta. She has helped her father, who's a bounty hunter, for most of her life, and he has died, or he's been murdered. So that's not a spoiler, that's happened before the book even starts, you know that like immediately. So he's been murdered, and now the kingdom is basically blaming his apprentice, who was her only friend and the person that she loved, but she hasn't talked to him in a while, since he went to work for the king, I think. But basically this follows her trying to find her father's killer, and there's some magic involved and things like that. But it was so not, it just wasn't great. It was just very cookie cutter. It was forgettable, and that was the worst part, is that it was forgettable. I found that when I was reading, it was like, okay, like kept my interest, but it just wasn't rememberable. Okay, on to the 3-star reviews, and that means that I like them. The first book I read this month was with my husband, and that was Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. So about these, like, I don't know what they're called, DC Icons novels. If you don't know about them, basically all these like #1 best-selling authors have joined together and made this series. I'm sure Random House contracted them to. Basically, this is Marie Lu's version of Batman. However, it kind of disappointed me because this basically follows Bruce before he's Batman. So he's like going to high school, and he ends up getting in trouble and having to work for the Arkham prison as community service, and he meets this, well, he sees this inmate there that is a young girl about his age, and she won't talk to anyone, and she's like this crazy killer because obviously only the worst of the worst get put in Arkham prison. But the police cannot get her to talk to anyone, but she talks to Bruce. So Bruce gets involved because that's what he does. I was a little disappointed just because we didn't see our classic characters. Like, where's the Joker? Where's Penguin? Where's all these people that Batman actually faces? And there wasn't any of that. So that kind of sucked. I was super intrigued by Madeline, the girl that he sees in the prison. She was super interesting and crazy brilliant, and I almost wish the book was about her because she was super cool. I would not suggest this book if you really love the classic Batman, because that is not what these books are about. They are inspired by the characters, but a lot of them don't match up exactly to the original characters. So if you are a super, you know, DC character lover, you probably aren't going to enjoy these books as much. But if you're like myself, who knows of the characters, hasn't really read the comics or anything like that, you will probably like this book. The next book I read was Frostblood by Ellie Blake. This book, I kept actually getting Ever the Hunted confused with this book, but they're very different, and this one was more interesting, and I think that's why I kept getting it confused, is because I kept thinking it was this book, and I don't know why. Maybe because they both have like white covers that I just kept blending them. I don't know. Who knows what happens in my brain. This book follows Ruby, a Frostblood, in a world where Firebloods reign and Frostbloods are killed just for being what they are. Wait, is she a Fireblood or is she a Frostblood? I may have said that Ruby is a Frostblood, but she is a Fireblood in a world where Frostbloods reign. So, sorry about that. And this book takes place after Ruby's mother has been killed trying to protect her, and then she's taken by these rebel forces and trained to basically take down the king. This book gave me strong Throne of Glass vibes. I don't know how to explain it, but there's one scene near the end that really, it just really made me think of Throne of Glass, like Selena taking on the, what are those things with the black house, the Vogue, I think. Are they Vogue? Tell me if they're Vogue. There was some awesome tropes that I love in here. I won't say what they are, but because I don't want it to be a spoiler, but there was some awesome tropes in here that I really liked. I think if you are a fan of the Throne of Glass series, you'll really like this series as well. I am really excited to get to Fireblood. There were a couple motivational issues for me. Basically, she wasn't given a whole lot of information, but she still went along with some plans, and that kind of threw me. Like, it didn't seem very realistic. If it were me, I would want definitely more information before I went along with killing a person. So that was one of the problems that I saw in this book, but overall, it was a really enjoyable read, so I gave it 3 stars. Whoa, sorry to cut that so short. But as I was editing this, I realized it was going to be a super long video, so I decided that I was going to cut it short, and in this video we'll talk 1 through 3 stars, and next video will be all the books I absolutely loved, all the 4 and 5 star books, so be sure to check that out next Wednesday. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for stopping in. I post videos every Wednesday all about books and writing, so if that sounds good to you, I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe below, and we'll see you guys next time.